So how do you surrender? I was asked that earlier today, and then I did my research on YouTube on what perfect title I should put on this video so it gets to the right eyes. And if you're watching this, this was meant for you. And I found that the best title would be something along the lines of, how do you surrender to God? And then I put it together with my personal development journey and what I've been learning and how I've been doing some major breakthroughs and really making some progress in the last couple of years. And as I said it here before, to me, the authentic voice of God is the voice of my conscience. Once I learned that and I started applying it to my life, I found that my conscience has never done me wrong. Once I started applying that concept of listening to the voice of my conscience, I call it a conscience-guided life. Every decision I make, as much as sometimes it doesn't seem like the right decision to do, it's always been the right decision. So how do you surrender to the authentic voice of God? How do you surrender to your conscience? Because I would wonder too, before I started just listening to my conscience, listening to the authentic voice of God, surrendering to the instructions that he was giving me, and stop listening to my ego. My ego just wants to do the easy things, the simpler way, the part with least resistance, the part with less suffering, the part with more pleasure, the one that'll give me the quick fix, the one that'll get me there the fastest. That's not the voice of my conscience. My conscience is telling me to go the difficult route, the darker route, the colder route, the one that's going to take longer, the one that has more suffering and less pleasure. For me, that took something, best way to describe it is to be humble. Now, my definition of humble may be a little bit different than the dictionary's definition of humble. Now, I don't really know exactly even what the dictionary definition of humble is, but to me, the one I truly believe and adopted is humble means to be guidable, to be coachable. Now, other ways to be humble too is listening to someone who's guiding you, a coach. Now, if your conscience is telling you, hey, you need to go get a coach. This person right here that's giving you some great information, knows what he's talking about. He can guide you. I'm going to use him as my tool to guide you on earth. And your conscience is telling you, listen to him, get on his program. You're going to allow yourself to be coachable. I'm going to surrender and listen to what my guide is telling me to do. My coach is telling me to do. You surrender your thoughts of your ego, which is like the choice you always make, even though it's not the right one. In simple, I'd like to put it as the choice you always make that's the easiest. That's what you're surrendering. And you're listening to the voice of your conscience, or if you decide to listen to someone that's going to guide you, your coach. Now, the coach is not always going to be there. And the coach will probably tell you, hey, listen to the voice of your conscience. If we're talking personal development here. And that voice of your conscience is the voice that comes loud, it comes clear, but sometimes it does take, especially at the beginning, sometimes it does take a little bit of time to get used to listening to this voice, because for many years we've ignored this voice, because we've always had a great relationship with our ego, which ultimately in the long game hasn't gotten us any result, which is probably why you're watching this video. Now that we're looking for that long-term result where we actually do start making progress and do start attracting the things that we want, we have to go the difficult way. The direction that's being given to us by our conscience or by a coach that we trust, a guide, someone who's guiding us. So how do you surrender? You stop listening to your ego and you start listening to your conscience. Your guide or your conscience says to wake up early, wake up early. Your conscience or guide says you got to start tracking your food, start tracking your food. Your conscience or your guide says to start exercising every single day 3 times a day, start exercising every day 3 times a day. Your conscience tells you, hey, we didn't like the outcome of that event that just happened. What could we learn from the situation? I didn't like how that just happened. I don't like my reaction. I don't like how I feel. I don't like the outcome. You quickly turn things around by saying, life happens for me, not to me. There's something to learn here. And then be thankful about something within that situation that you don't like. As simple as, I get to be here still. I get to continue experiencing life. And I know that that event happened for me, not to me. I'm not going to self-victimize anymore. But I want to learn what's there to be learned from that situation. Again, you're surrendering. You're opening up to the instruction that's going to come from above, the voice of your conscience. It's happened to me within seconds, minutes, sometimes a few hours, sometimes the next day, where it hits me. Oh my goodness, that's what I was supposed to learn. Has never failed me. Once I surrendered and stopped self-victimizing, stopped listening to my ego, stopped choosing the path of least resistance and greatest pleasure, is when my life has started to change. The few people that I've already coached say the same thing. The magic comes when you surrender. When you surrender listening to your ego and start listening to the guiding voice, which is either me or the voice of their conscience. And all I'm telling them to do is, hey, Listen to your conscience. What is your conscience telling you to do? I'm telling them, hey, you got to do the big 3 plus 1, which is exercise, diet, and wake up time, and measure your progress. Make sure you're making progress. They well know that their conscience has been telling them, you need to exercise. You need to eat better, and you should be waking up earlier. So it's not like I'm coming up with something new that's coming up out of left field. This is just basic personal development. Then once they elevate their rate of vibration, they're aligned with their purpose, and they got a clearer, louder connection with the voice of their conscience, which will guide them the rest of the way. Surrendering to God is one of the most powerful things you can do, and the instructions come through the voice of your conscience. So remember, be humble and allow yourself to be guided, to be coached. Hey, you want to kick it and become homies? You know what to do. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. If this video hit, 2 things that I ask you to do for me. Hit the thumbs up button, make your way over to the comments and type in that part. And if you also want to help out the channel just a little bit more, hop in the comments and check in. I post daily on this channel, so I'll see you tomorrow. Let's get it.